cheer for your Sydney Swans.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there, you just can't get enough of the red and the white.
Fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
G'day there, Cygnus and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. You're joined as always by the boys from Sydney. I'm Chris and this is Noddy.
That's right, you lamenting and languishing loyal Swans fans. In this episode, we're going to be chatting about the big loss to the Dogs. But before then, remember, if you enjoy what you hear, make sure to give us a like and a follow. All right, let's kick things off with a quick game recap.
Right, last Sunday in front of 36,000 fans at the beautiful SCG, Sydney Swans were defeated by the Western Bulldogs by 39 points with a final score of 7-6, 48 to 12, 15, 87. Right off the bat, Noddy, there is a lot of stressed out Swans fans, although are sitting in first place, just looking for answers out there. We are some of them, mate. First impressions of the game, go for it.
Well, it was a sunny day. It was lovely weather. It was very beautiful. Cold wind. Yeah, very blustery conditions. That word blustery is always bandied about. The second there's a minor wind, it's blustery conditions. But it was very blustery. And, I mean, look, it was just a very hard to watch first quarter. Again, I mean, what is going on in these first quarters? Come on. This is not the first time we've spoken. Okay, look, we need to just – okay, today I Googled – how do you break out of a funk? Okay, and this is the first response I got.
Where did you put this in? Just into Google?
Just into ChatGPT. Just into Google. Yeah, it wasn't. Google, I think it was WebMD or something dumb like that. It was, So there's like 15 things you can try. Right, reach out to someone. I mean, we're here.
That's why we're here. Yeah,
come and talk to us, guys. We're happy to. We'll be your sounding board. We'll figure it out for you. Eat dark chocolate. I mean, who doesn't like?
I did that just earlier. I had a Freddo Frog. Not dark, granted, but it is a Freddo. It's good.
It's chocolate. Tick.
It's chocolate.
Right? Yeah. Play music. Okay, we're going to come back to this, all right? The songs after the goals. We need to work on that. But anyway, laugh. Okay, let's, it's...
Laugh.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Laugh. How do you laugh at first quarters like this? And do a good deed, all right? Plenty of good deeds done by the club on a weekly basis. I'll think about something.
I didn't yell at a guy today who was just sitting there and didn't get out of the way while I was waiting for petrol, and I wanted to yell at him and beep at him, but I just looked at him and waved my hand. So that's a good deed. I didn't scream at a bloke for the names.
That's a great deed on your side of the fence. I'm talking about the players. I'm talking like the red kite type stuff. There's a lot of good deeds happening.
That's true.
Obviously, all the great work with all the partners that they're doing, the club. Hug your dog. I know a lot of the players have dogs, so get out there and hug the dogs. Drink water. I mean, that's a given. Go outside go outside. I mean, there's probably spend half the day outside. Exercise. I mean, some of these guys probably are doing too much exercise. We're going to talk about that. Eat something healthy. The club sorts that out for them. Get down and dirty, right? Maybe they're not having enough sex, right? So,
is that what you're taking from this?
I don't know, mate. There's meditate.
I thought Omo was involved. I thought we were talking about getting down and dirty in the mud. I thought we were talking about contested football. Okay, that's spicy. All right, spicy for a Tuesday night. All right, continue, mate.
Well, look, I mean, that's it, right? Meditate, rest, take a holiday. They do that when the season's over. But like, I watched the replay, and apart from that first quarter, we actually did try hard to come back, and it was actually close, even though, the Bulldogs were better, even in second, third and fourth quarter. The score was 7-5, 7-10, excluding the first quarter, but obviously footy doesn't work that way. But either way, over the full 4 quarters, the Dogs were cleaner, harder, sharper, hungrier, taller, and better than us. They were just, I just think this mental funk of first quarters. I'm just throwing it out there. We need to just stop using the word first and quarter together in reference to the first quarter of a footy game for the Swans.
What are the other options we're going to go with?
Well, I mean, look, I'm open to suggestions, but bookmark. My first was let's just start at second quarter, right? So with the first first bounce, right? We can call it the second bounce if we need to. The game just starts at the second quarter. They're usually our better quarters. So let's just start.
Do we ignore them, is what you said? Or do we take it to 5 quarters if that's mathematically possible?
I think they're process-driven people. They need terminology. I'm happy to go with the game starts and we're immediately into the second quarter. The second quarter is the third's the fourth. The fourth is bring it home, fellas. The last.
Yes,
it's the last chance to kick butt. Okay, so whatever it is, whatever the quarter that shall not be named, like a Harry Potter type thing, we just cannot fucking say first quarter because I don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. Everyone's thought about it. Jen had a really good stab at it the other day. That we're just sussing out the competitors, and we're not sticking with them. It's clearly pressure, or I don't know what it is.
We have some serious problems if we're referring to first quarters as Voldemort. that is just summing up how we feel about first quarters. Like, just let's not talk about them. That's the kind of situation. It is genuinely a problem that's had us all year round. And we just thought, I did think at some point the team were just like, we're just going to push that aside and just work with it. And it just, and it's not necessarily to say that the first quarter was a problem this week, because the whole game was a problem, right? Yes, we showed a bit more fight in that second quarter, and we kind of leveled it out a little bit more, and it wasn't so as intense, but it still didn't necessarily go our way in any of those quarters. So I still feel that there's, although we are having an awful time and turning it on, it's also the just the way that we're running with things. We're also running with things with when we get the momentum, we drive the momentum. If we don't get the momentum like a day like this, it just we don't get that fight back.
Well, that's the blueprint. We were talking before we started recording, and that's clearly teams are smashing us in the first quarter, right? Well, I mean, let's be fair. Let's look at the numbers.
They're not always smashing us.
They're not always. No, they're not. Yeah. So we've had 9 games with first quarter wins and 9 games with first quarter losses, and there was a draw, I think, against North, right? But of those 9 losses in the first quarter, we've had 4 games where we were down by 20 points or more. So the Dogs, most recently, we were down by 34. We ended up losing the game. The Cats were down by 29. We ended up winning that, which was a fantastic game. The Dockers were down by 27. We lost, obviously, by a point. And the Lions were down by 22, and we lost by 2 points. So it's hard to get a read on that because we've been able to come back and win, and we've been able to come back and just lose. We're talking about the last 5 weeks. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's this dip in form. It's all this sort of stuff. Like in the game, we lacked intensity. Their pressure forced us into a lot of errors. There were a lot of missed handballs, a lot of missed tackles. Chad was physically present but seemed spiritually absent.
That was a little bit like a couple of the other players as well. I'd even throw Millsy into the mix as well. Like he was available, he was there, but his impact in the game was just not very Millsy. And it absolutely wasn't Warner, considering where we've put him up on a pedestal and whole competition has for a chunk of the year.
Comparing him to Dusty at the same point of his career. I mean, players are allowed to have, he's still young,
Yeah, and they're going to be hot and cold, and that's okay. And I think, like, we're sitting there trying to find answers. We're talking about Voldemort. we're asking the players to go and get down and dirty and meditate on their days off. There's a lot of we're grasping for straws ourselves, but I think they pump the brakes a little bit as well because, like, the Bulldogs are a good team. Their midfield is arguably one of the best in the competition in terms of form, especially, and then finding Ed Richards out of nowhere as well to throw in the mix. Why not?
They're pretty much full strength, right?
Yeah,
I don't think they're missing too many people that would otherwise be in the team. The lob back to down back is a bit of a masterstroke. Look, they're running hot. They got smashed by Port a month ago, and then they've had 3 really big wins, right? Carlton, Geelong, and then us. Right, so they are in form. It hurts me to say it. But they're playing very good footy.
They're a good football team.
They didn't even win the free kick count. Okay, I just
didn't have to this time.
I just want to take a quick section. Look, I've got to talk about this because it's always the free kick count. whenever we play the Bulldogs, the free kick count, I think there's an anomaly. All right, so after the game, we went to the game. We're asking Swans fans, just randomly, a couple of fans we know, a couple of fans we don't know. We just say, if you haven't looked at the stats, could you, just by the eye test, having watched the game,
Look at the eye.
who won the free kick count?
Eye
and
test.
They were all just like, oh, no, the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs definitely won that. And I think you look at it and it was 20-16 or something. So my question is, why does it feel like the Western Bulldogs always win the free kick count? Are they deliberately not counting because they feel like we're going to arc up again after 2016? Or is it just that we're so emotionally tainted after 2016 that every time we play the Bulldogs, it's like one free kick feels like three?
Yeah, it's. I mean, let's 100% honest with it. It's 100%. It's most of it's to do with 2016. But
lot, yeah.
On the game of the weekend, you asked me the same question. I'm just like, it just seemed like the free kicks that went against us rather were so much more
damaging,
50-50. They're
50-50.
and or 50-50 calls. You're like, why was that a call? And you're like, that's just unusual. Whereas the ones that went to them or against them rather seemed like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense because of the nature of what happened.
Yeah, there was one that stood out in the first quarter. Apparently, it was a trip on Ed Richards, and that was the one that he kicked the goal, and then that put them 3 goals up. Up until that point, it could have, if we got a goal back, the first quarter might have gone differently. But there was no replay of the incident. And
the Rowie situation.
Well, it was Heaney. Yeah. Heaney and Richards both fell over, but apparently it was a trip on Richards. Anyway, I'm singling out one thing. It's not an excuse. This game, they killed us. They smashed us in the contest. We're going to go through some numbers.
No. What I'm referring to there with the Rowie situation is in the grand final 2022. Rowie got caught.
Replay.
Remember,
of the,
he apparently he kicked the ball, but we for the life of that. They've burnt the tapes, so we're not allowed to see them anymore. Yeah. I presume that they've burnt these tapes for this week as well, so the umpires are not going to let us see it.
It's like that secret vision of the JFK assassination that only gets
it's the other side of the grassy knoll. Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, it's quite elaborate considering it's a nothing game really in the scheme of things right now. But yeah.
One thing I will feed back into that free kick. So Phil and Regina, who sit with us, just behind us, they've been in the same seats for 25 years. They're awesome people and huge Swans fans. Always go and have a chat with them in three-quarter time. Sorry. And Phil was telling me that he was watching the umpires warm up before the game, and they were running down our wing on the O'Reilly, the big group of them, the whole squadron or whatever you call a group of umpires, a parliament of
a murder of umpires.
Yeah, murder of umpires. I know what the term my brother would use.
Don't ask Nugs what call them. Yeah.
But and he said as they all turned and ran back towards the centre square or back to the middle of the ground, one umpire peeled off and went straight in front of the Western Bulldogs cheer squad. Yeah. And sat and was there for a couple of minutes just having a good old chat. So don't tell me there isn't a little bit of something. I said, what number was he? And he goes, I didn't see. And I said, I don't think Stevic umpired that game. I don't even know. But look, what I'm suffering from, what I realise is I suffer from acute ongoing stevasitis.
It's stevasitis.
It's from 2016. It just, I can't get past it. Anyway. A few players can hold their heads up high. Overall, pretty poor effort. Obviously, we're in a slump. We're going to keep working through that theme tonight. But I just wanted to paraphrase one of the Bevy contributors, Matt, who I think summed it up pretty well. He's thinking that this is all a result of a perfect storm. So there's all this talk of heavier training loads. So undergoing heavier training loads so we can hit the ground running in September. Then we got injuries to 4 of our most important players. Then we brought Mills back in, who we're carrying until he gets fit. He only played 70 minutes on the weekend. Parker's still not really fit either. And then, as we've already touched on, we come up against a red-hot, full-strength Dogs team. So it's our biggest loss of the year. And it's our worst first quarter smashing of the year, as we've already gone through. But,
it's a good summary from Matt. It is. It's a really, really good summary. It's a mixture of personnel coming back in, not being entirely fit. It's a mixture of it's this time of the season where there's a different training load on the guys to get them primed up for a long postseason, as well as another few games to go. And it is the Bulldogs, and they are a good team.
And teams having worked us out.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially
That much has been known the last few weeks. If you
Yeah.
shut down the mids,
Yeah.
they can't get quality ball going up forward with all of those backs, our half backs as well. It's a totally different game. And we've got to find a way around it, basically. Got to work it out.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is if teams can shut us down with pressure, then we just need to up our pressure as well. And obviously with the personnel out, Rowe is a huge part of that. I mean, this is McInerney comes out, we lose that transition in the mid. Rowe comes out, even though he was sort of, he's playing a variety of roles this year, he still brings that grunt, right?
He was probably the one that I missed the most,
Rowe?
Because Rowe, every time the ball got on the ground, they always got hands on the ball and they broke so many tackles.
We were so sloppy. How many?
Awful.
Okay, not just Chad missed a lot of tackles.
Chad missed a lot of tackles. I think that's what was for me was quite notable. He's been shut down with the ball before this year, and that's just the nature of someone putting so much attention on him. But then when you do that, you got to pick up your defensive work, and I think his defensive work wasn't particularly good. And I this is not a trend or anything. This is just a game. So let's just see. It's all right. Shake it off. He's young, like you said, young kid, big talent ahead of him. Big contract coming up, no doubt. He just needs to kind of sharpen up a bit. He'll be fine.
I mean, the other thing was tricky. I mean, obviously Melican went off with suspected hamstring. So then structurally, Logan McDonald went back, right?
I mean, how do we score goals when you're missing one of the key forwards, right? Or one or two big key forwards at the front.
Yeah, and our mids aren't picking up the slack, right? And our small forwards aren't. Look, it was just a comprehensive effort, I think, from the Dogs, and you really have to give them credit. But I don't know, if you look at the numbers, obviously we were plus 19 in tackles, but we were down 27 in contested possessions. So, and then there's ground ball gets, there's post clearance first possession, they smashed us basically.
They hammered us in quite a lot of things.
Yeah. They were pressure up in our face. The top five pressure at getters of the game were all five. They were all Dogs: Libba, Bont, Waitman, Richards, and Garcia. So,
and given how much it looked like they held the ball, that they had access to the ball the entire time, that is a lot. I mean, the disposals were just about equal, but it didn't feel like that. It really felt like we were always in the back foot whenever we got the ball.
It did.
And in that first quarter, I remember just us thinking to ourselves, that breeze must be like a four goal breeze, because it was kind of blustering. It was
blustery.
It was blustery, and it felt like it was kind of coming across us, but it was going back and forth. It was going freaking everywhere. And but it did seem like whenever they got the ball in particular, they were able to just kick over the heads of some of the last back. And you've got two of their guys running uncontested effectively in their forward line, where we kind of pulled up a bit too high to try to get that rebound going. And they saw straight past that. They held onto the ball, kicked it over the guy's head, and then they were on their own and were always on the back foot. So I don't know whether the breeze necessarily made a bit of a difference in that first quarter, because go back, watch it again, and it happened a bunch of times. And we just were able to get that back, or the blustery winds eased up. But it's just after seeing that a few times, it's like, what is going on with that back line? And it just reminded me, and we said it before, Rampy is such a pillar in that back line. Apart from what he does physically, what he does in leadership, I just feel that he would have immediately organised the crew, and you'd be like, right, okay, pull one guy back, someone sit deeper, play a bit more man-on-man in instance, because they just outmanned us in so many ways when it hit the ground in the back line. In our back line, it was brutal.
And then Jamara was on fire.
Jamara
just looked very dangerous every time he touched it.
He's on absolute form, right? You've been saying you've had a quick look about what he's done. There's always been discussions about the two, Logan and Jamara, coming in just about the same year, same age, just about the same height. Well, their stat lines look very similar, with Jamara pipping him in a few different ways. But he's such a different player, isn't he? And he's on absolute form.
Well, yeah, I think it's just Logan's been through the ringer, right?
Yeah,
the past month, right? He's had two moments to win us the game. It hasn't. But again, it shouldn't have ever come to him having a win.
if we're going to say that, in all fairness, so has Papley and probably another couple of the guys who've had cracks of goal in that last quarter. You know what I mean? So,
But the thing is, like, Jamara's kicked 4 goals in the last 3 games in these huge wins against top 8 teams, and it is fantastic. Look, I looked at the numbers. He kicked 25 in the first 17 games. 17 rounds, and that was. I think he played that many, and so his average was 1.5 goals a game. And then he kicks 12 in the last 3, so his average goes to 2.2. Logan kicked 21 in the first 15 rounds, so 14 games with the bye, was average of 1.5, and then 9.6 in the last 5. So he's one of our players that has actually increased his average over the last month in our slump, slump or form dip.
Yeah.
But because of that, his season average is 1.6, so it's hovering less than Jamara. But it's just, I mean, if he'd kicked those 2 winning goals and Jamara's kicked these 12, they'd both be going, oh, these 2 young key forwards, they're just as good as each other. They bring slightly different aspects to the game. You know, Jamara's a bit more, he just looks a bit more dangerous, whereas I think, you know, Logan's a bit more of a workhorse, so a bit more kind of like what Norton did in the game against us, is just running up and down the wings, you know, got a big tank. He's pulling defenders out to give more space to their other tools. But, yeah,
He's
look,
a bloody
I don't
classy
know.
player. You have to, like, appreciate how hard he works. Like, his apprenticeship with Buddy, I feel, made him appreciate how much work a full forward needs to do. Not just in the forward line, but also just around and being that outlet and everything. And his work rate's incredible, and his field kicking is fantastic. And you're asking him to go back and help out in the back line. You're asking such a young guy to do so. You know, to putting the game on his shoulders a couple of times. And yet, granted, he had a crack at it, didn't get there, but we're asking a lot of him, and he's keeping his head high, and he needs to keep his head high because he's got crazy talent. And yeah, Jamara's kicked, 4 goals in the last 3 games, 4 goals. But, it's fine. Logan's going to come good. He's going to be strong. It's going to be okay. It's just, let's just see this out. I feel really bad because, you want to give him a bit of love, but, the whole team is basically in a little bit of slump. It's not just on him.
Well, I mean, like, I know he's been swung back in certain games, like for the last couple of minutes of certain, end of games or end of quarters, but he hasn't really had to play half a game down there, right? It was kind of like what we're thinking. Maybe Reedy would get up and then he would come in and play that role, or maybe Hamling or Francis or even young Edwards. Were unclear, but look, I mean, he did okay. He got outmarked, but everyone's getting outmarked. I mean, like, it was just they've spoken about it in the media. We were talking about it earlier, like just forcing us to bomb long. And also, they're coming on our head. They were kicking onto our heads as well and marking it. Whereas in the other end, you go down the other end of the field, they had Liam Jones, Rory Lobb, and Buku Karmas just stealing everything. It was a total of 20 intercept marks, 11, 5, and 4 respectively. So I don't know, similar kind of thing, totally different outcome. I think it just was off the back of that pressure from the first quarter, and then just that sense of, oh God, we need to, lift here. But the Bulldogs just played an excellent game. They just blew us off the park and then kept pace with us, kept pressure up, and we really couldn't get any momentum to get us back in the game. But not that we looked like getting that, to be honest. I think that we were just so off.
It was the key pillars that were kind of off as well. Like, I mean, you had let's get straight into a couple of the players that were really, really good, like Robbo.
Robbo, so good.
Matt Roberts we've caught it a couple of times this year. We were blown away how young he is and how many games he played it up to now. It was like at the beginning of the season, he played like less than like a dozen games or something, like something insane. And he's just such a talent. And this game, it was his best game of his career, I'd say. And it's easy 3 points for the bevy, for the Bob medal. Yeah, mate, 36 touches, 81%, 10 of them contested, 10 intercepts.
9 turnovers, though. But that's okay. There were a lot of turnovers.
Yeah. 3 score involvements, a goal, Yeah. So, like, he was just
kick.
good.
I think he really is. I know that Cunningham and Lloyd are out there, and Fox when he does go back in terms of experience. But he just looks like a leader already. And he... in the absence of Rampy, as we've already spoken about, I feel like he's the one, obviously communicating with the other players, but he just seems like a bit of a general down there, doesn't he? Get the ball in his hands. Obviously the kick-ins are shared around, but with Blakey and I guess Ollie and maybe Campbell took one. But look, I don't know. It was just fair. It was a great game, and
You see him. I kind of look to him as being like a bit more of that. He's having an incredible apprenticeship with one of the stingiest backlines in the game and had been for some time. Mm-hmm. And you just hope that he's just like, and he does seem like the kind of kid who's just got his head wrapped around really well. I mean, he's got a moustache for crying out loud. He must be listening to that backline. Must look at them in awe. And we knew at the beginning of the season when we were speaking to Millsy at the 150th jersey presentation. Mm. And I asked him, who's the player that you reckon's going to turn it on? He said, Robbo. He's going to go well this year. And that's exactly right. He's been fucking amazing. Absolute breakout year for him.
Been killing it, yeah. I think Tommy McCartan over the past month has been really solid. And this was another game where he it could have been a lot worse. And let's face it, like they had 33 scoring shots. They only scored 27. So they missed 8. And Jamara was a couple of those, to be honest. And there were a lot of kicks that didn't make it or went out on the full. But like it could have been like a 60-point loss. But you just feel that Tommy McCartan, especially after Melly goes down, really stood up. Was clunking a few intercepts himself. He had 17 disposals at 71%. That's pretty good for him because he's probably not the best kicker, but I think he had of those it was like 10 kicks or so. But look, he was second on ground for intercept marks after Jones, so he was getting it done. I think it was pretty helpful for us for the score not to blow out more than what it did. But I don't know.
Worked hard, man. Yeah, 10 contested possessions most of this whole season for him. Like he was going hard. Like and I agree with you entirely. I think in Brisbane as well. Aside from that first quarter, he was amazing. I think he's just been fantastic.
And then of course, so we'll give him the 2. For the Bob, and then 1 we'll give to Heaney. I mean, there were a couple we were talking about, but Heaney, 32 at 56%, 12 contested possessions, 21 pressure arcs, equal first for Sydney with Errol on 21. Missed a few gettable goals. He's one that's really dropped off in the past 5 in terms of...
ever since...
I mean, it's no wonder the AFL basically have spanked his... we can go back to
away
how do you break out of a funk? Look, eat some chocolate. He's kicked.
How do you get into a funk? Accidentally touch a guy in the nose and then get your Brownlow taken away from you.
And can we just test Webster's nose for how sensitive it is to bleeds? That was totally overlooked. It's like, look, how are his capillaries? Are they loose? Are they weak capillaries? This guy's got weak capillaries.
Just a weak nose. I remember as a kid just my nose bleeding for absolutely no reason.
Right.
That hasn't happened for a while, mind you, granted, but since I was about 11. But
still, he could have been one of those kids, Chris. He could have been one of those kids.
He still is one of those kids.
Still, well, there you go. And let's while we're on it, before we go back to Heaney, the slap that Liam Jones gave Hayden McLean, was okay. Bare minimum, that's a 50. Yeah. But if Heaney can get done for a separation act, then how does Liam Jones not even get? I don't think he's been fined. It's Tuesday night. But
Heaney pushed behind him with no recognition of what necessarily was going on back there.
Webster was falling down.
Gets touched in his sensitive areas. Turns out it's his nose-ish area, and as we know clearly, he's got weak capillaries. In the meantime, Doss is just having a walk past him, and Liam Jones just dead set just punched him in the face or slapped
just slapped him in the face. It was like that.
There was no accidental part contest. Of it.
It was like, it's your turn. I'm going to slap you now, and if you survive, you get to slap me
back.
Yeah.
You don't get a 50 though. That's for sure.
Oh, it's unbelievable. But of course, strong capillaries, no blood in sight. Kicks the goal, shakes off the doctor. No, it's okay. I just got illegally slapped, intentionally.
Just got illegally slapped without knowing it,
with no
powder or nothing.
Oh my God! Anyway, Heaney obviously missed a couple of goals, but so his average is from rounds 0 to 15. He was kicking a goal and a half a game. He's down to half a goal a game over the past 5. So his is actually probably the biggest drop. And I think you're right. I think just the mental, maybe a bit of a role change, a little bit of pressure off.
Yeah.
But yeah, big difference between before and after, I think.
It has, and it's not to say, but his effort's been there, and I think by giving him the 1 point this week, we are recognising the effort is there. There's no doubt about it. It's just the polish is just kind of worn off a little bit. It could just be this time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, like we knew at the beginning of this season and on his absolute form, he was feeling good. He was moving around really well. Maybe it's just kind of carrying a couple of like some of that injuries kind of coming back a bit, and he's just going to have to work his way through it. But it's a hard time of the season. You've got a whole postseason ahead of you, as well as beat up as you're going to be. He's going to have to find a way through it.
I mean, like, you know, it's been such an amazing season, like with our trio of young guns. Well, I guess Heaney's a bit more experienced than, say, Errol and Chad, but those 3 players have obviously highly touted. You know, there's been a lot being said about them this year. And Errol, and we've already spoken about Chad, he seems off, right? Seemed very off. It was lowest disposal, I think, I think maybe ever. Or, you know, since he started getting regular games. But, I mean, Errol had, I find this funny, like Chad's day off is like missing tackles, 11 touches. Errol's day off is 27 disposals and a goal. Yeah. Like he, remember he dropped that chest mark and then missed that running goal. I mean, you know he's dirty on himself, so you're not going to, you know, he's got such high standards. But I just thought it was funny that Errol's...
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm just looking back. I think that was the least disposals of his equal worst of his career.
Yeah.
The last time he got that few disposals was against GWS round 15, 2021.
God.
So like it just goes to show that it is a massive, massive blip. Like, this is not trending or nothing. But
speaking of that, we had a beer on the way home at the Madison down towards Central.
We had a couple, to be fair.
We had a couple, to be honest, yeah. But there was a lady at the bar, and I was having a chat. She was a Swans fan, had a scarf on, and I was like, what do you think? The game was pretty rough. She goes, yeah, tell me about it. I stood to make a bit of money on Chad getting 20, and he dishes that up. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a fairly safe bet. But yeah, Chad on 11. So you just pointed it out. So there you go. But
how is that also? Like I just walked up to some random that was there at the pub.
Oh yeah,
and started chatting to him, and he looks at me and goes, I know you. I'm like, do you? And he goes, yeah. You went to school with my brother. Turns out to be big Hills, Bundina boy. It was fucking mad. It was so random. And then I just got chatting to him. Hadn't seen him for a few years. He's had a couple of kids since. But yeah, like his brother is like one of my bestest mates in the world, and I hadn't seen him for ages. Last time I saw him, it was also on the juice after a Swans game. I'm pretty sure.
He's a good bloke, wasn't he? Tim?
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. Timmy Hills.
Yeah. No, shout out. That was cool. Yeah, look, it was one of those games where, and it's sort of an awkward time slot, right? 3:30 or 3:20 on a Sunday, but like, you know, it's sort of, we needed to talk about it, I think, and we need to have a couple of beers and work our way through it. Obviously, we're still going through that now, but yeah, look, I don't know, mate. It was, where does that leave us? I mean, it was a comprehensive victory for the Dogs. Yeah. And we literally, I'm not panicking yet, because if we skip ahead and we look at, you know, where we look at the ladder, we look at the implications. We're still first, as you've said. We're 56 points, 6 points clear. Obviously, that gap that we had is shrinking, has been over the past month. 6 points clear of Brisbane in second, with 14 wins, 5 losses. Still got the best record of the contending teams. So we've won 10 times against teams in the top 12 and lost 3, and the next best is 7 and 8, 8 and 7 or something like that, which is Carlton and Geelong. So we're still doing well, but it's, you know, obviously the next game is all I can think about.
Yeah. The next few games, and I think we said it a couple of weeks ago, I'm not too fussed about, like, the Brisbane game, we dropped that, not a problem. You know, like, besides the injuries we had away at the Gabba, the noise that they make there, you know, circumstances, you know, Haywood running around on 1 foot, those kinds of things, you go, all right, cool. The Saints game that we lose, that one kind of hurt a bit because we had opportunities to take and we didn't. And it's like, that's just a bit rough. The Dockers just outplayed us and they did the first game. They just couldn't kick straight. So there's a fair few things in the last weeks. I'm just like, okay, cool. Some things I can go with, some things I can't. You start seeing this trend. And it's just the way that the midfield kind of responded was really rough for us to watch. And without Rowie there, it was so crystal clear. Like, you need that kind of hard nut getting down to that ball, getting down and dirty. Do we talk about positions now? Like,
I'll just, before we do that, mate, I just want to say, like, I threw it out to the group, to the bevy, saying, because obviously the narrative has been building over the past 5 weeks of, the Swans are a bit shaky, they're not as amazing as everyone's, we've upped the training loads to be primed for September, this and that, but we've got injuries. And look, I really think if we'd won a couple of those close games, we might have been playing some more depth players to actively rest some of our seniors. But because we lost these games that maybe we thought we'd win, because, obviously you want to, I don't think they would ever take any game lightly, knowing Horse and the culture he's built. But if you have banked, 16 wins by the time you play the Dogs, 16 or 17, then maybe you do rest your players that aren't otherwise injured. But as it turned out, Rampy and Papley and some of these other players, Rowie, Juzzy, they're already injured. But I think
I guess my concern really comes down to, like, I would actually, and I said it a few weeks ago, I would love to actually blood a couple of the guys out of the VFL by now. But we really don't have the opportunity to, because we are basically running off the team we have. That's our AFL standard. If we go down the line and look behind, you got like maybe Laddams, you could probably have a crack at it, get back in there again. Like you were mentioning, that could have been an option for this week with his height.
Against the Dogs,
yes,
we needed one other tall body in there, I thought. Yep. But
Francis has played a role before. He did a decent job against Mackay. Didn't do so well for the other ones. Just doesn't have the speed to go with, but can play a role. And then you kind of start basically thinking, okay, who else? Hamling, does he make his way in and just probably start seeing if we can prop up that back line with some more heads, get some more structure going in back there. But yeah, it's all kind of making me feel that it's coming to the sticky end of the season, and either Horse is going to be like, right, this is obviously not the time to play with things, but we do need to rest some of these players to kind of come through.
I don't know, man. I think it's too late for that now, because if we look at Port, our last 4 games of the year, we've got Port in 7th away, Collingwood 12th
don't beat
home.
Port. That's a thing. It's weird. Yeah.
Well, we'll go through the numbers in a sec.
Yeah.
Essendon 10th away, Adelaide 15th home. They're our last 4 games. And we were talking about, we're doing the ladder predictor. Basically, if all teams in the current top 8 win, and if they play each other, the team above that team, we give them the win. So they win all remaining games and we lose all of ours, we finish 7th. So Steve-O said, if we win 3 of the 4, we finish first with 2 home finals, probably, and some good players coming back. But if we drop 2 of them, it could mean travelling first week and things look harder, and then maybe some of those players don't come back. And then all of a sudden, golden season, it becomes very precarious. But obviously, in Adelaide Oval, what you just mentioned was we haven't beaten Port since round 20 of 2016. Like home and away. The last time we beat Port at Adelaide Oval was round 2 in 2015.
It's a real shame because I like Adelaide Oval. It's a nice place.
It's a great oval. But
I mean, Port people are there. That's
a lot of Port people. A lot of Port fans there when you play Port there. Yeah, but bogey team. This is a massive bogey. This is great. They're 7th, 12 wins, 7 losses. Their losses have been against pretty good teams. Melbourne, Collingwood, ? Adelaide, ? Carlton, GWS, Brisbane, Suns. And in the past month, they're 4 wins and 1 loss. The wins have been Carlton, Richmond, Dogs, and St Kilda. Lost to the Suns. This is confusing. Whereas obviously we know what's happened with us over the past month. So Look, I'm very, very worried. And this is why we're talking about, this is why all Swans fans are, I think they're searching for meaning. And I think the first thing you do is you tend to lash out. There's a lot of Swans fans that
there's a lot of angry people out. You all need to calm a bit. You need to calm down, right? The season,
you're not firing horse. You're not firing horse after one loss.
Enough of that. We're not firing horse.
Put it back in. Settle down.
Yeah. Delete your computer. Do whatever you got to take. It's just not going to happen. But it's just we have to. Football is freaking fantastic. Like the sport in itself, the energy we put into it, everything about it is just amazing. Like it's just every game's a story, every moment it's a whole journey along the way. This is part of the journey, and I think you don't go to the end of the season winning 100% all the time. Like look at all the times, every single game, every single win throughout the season. They're going to go through adversity. They have to. It's just the nature of it. And this is what this is. It's just another step in the journey. So get your heads up. Stop threatening to kick horse out because firstly, he's much bigger than you. You can't get him out of the place, right?
You're right. Like it's everyone's freaking out. We're still there. Obviously, if we keep losing, we lose the ability to say we've got a 6-point gap, or we understand that, right?
Yes.
But to then say, Amadi's got to be out. He's done nothing since he's kicked the goal. He's kicked the 9, and look on the scoreboard on his stat sheet, sure, but he's still
he's working hard.
He's working hard. He's tackling. Some of the kicks went astray, but there were a lot of clangers in that game against the Dogs, so he wasn't the only one. He obviously, it would be great if he was clunking marks, like we know he has ability to do. He was sticking everything that night in Adelaide, but, I think that's pressure. It's pressure. It's part of this form. It's part of this funk, right? It's, how do you break out of a funk? How do you mark the ball again?
You eat chocolate.
You eat chocolate.
You go in meditation.
You shag.
You Tinder.
Do a bit of this, bit of that, right? So
hug a dog. Apparently, don't get those confused.
He is okay. So I've gone through. I've spoken about some of it tonight, but of our goal kicking players this year. So Amadi, McLean, McDonald, Hayward, Tom Papley, Chad Warner, Isaac Heaney, Errol Goulden, and further down Sam Wicks, right? There's 3 players that have improved their average over the past 5 games, and that is McLean. So he's gone from just about 1 goal a game to 1.4 goals a game. McDonald has gone from 1.5 to 1.8, and then Tom Papley, but obviously he's only played the 4 with the injury. He's gone from 1.6 to 1.75. So everyone else has dropped off, right? So obviously Joel Amadi's dropped off. His is the starkest drop. Him and Heaney. So 2.2 goals a game down to 0.8, and Heaney's 1.5 to 0.5. But what I'm trying to say is, no one person should be singled out. I don't think dropping Amadi is the answer. It might actually cause more harm than good in terms of fracture the team.
The structure that we've got up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, as you're saying, it might have been nice to be able to get some of these legitimate AFL level depth players such as Laddams, Francis, Hamling to play a few more games under the belt if they have to be called upon when there's no more time for injury recovery, right? So that's where we're at this week. So we know that Melly, Rampy and Hayward are all tests. They've been announced as tests. Luckily, Melly's hammy wasn't as bad as they thought, and Rampy's looking like he could come back in. But if we look at those 3, so if they all are cleared, then obviously Melican and Hayward hold. Rampy needs to come in from someone, so maybe Corey comes out. But Rowie has to come. Rowie's been listed as he's back in.
Yep.
Right. He's been
Rowie walks straight in.
Rowie's in. He's
guy.
been announced as coming back in. So someone has to make way. We've been talking. Obviously Mills is still sort of finding his groove, finding his fitness. So maybe he goes to sub. We were pretty baffled that Parker went to sub before the last game. To be honest,
I think that's just a natural way to go about it. I think you got to throw Parker into the mix right off the bat. I think throw him in the middle, get some time into his bones again. Like try to feel that structure because the guys need some help in the mids, especially defensively. They need some extra hands there.
Big time.
Throw him into it, and then like as you said, Millsy, if he's not playing full game time anyway, then you structure it with him and say an Adams or something where Also, Adams has had his shares of injuries. He's playing a really good role for us. It'd be such a shame if something came up just because we weren't resting him enough.
If I can, because he just frustrates me.
Why?
Adams. I love it when he kicks a goal, but I don't see him doing enough. Like for me, Parker is such a better they play a similar role, but Parker I think is better at what Adams can. I'm not saying Adams should be out of the team. I just think if push comes to shove, for me it's Parker every day of the week.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. You're not going to hear anything about that. But I would like to see maybe the 50-50 role for this week being a Millsy Adams.
Yeah, okay.
For body's sake. Just let their bodies get into it. Don't put too much pressure on Millsy. Say to him, like, go out there, just absolutely nail your half or whatever it is, or your 3/4. And also get a bit of time and like rest it up for old Adams because, he's had his injuries, right?
Adams, he seems a bit wasteful on the kick. Like he gets a fair bit of ball, but he can be a bit wasteful. But he does apply good pressure. He brings a lot of experience.
It's what he does without the what gets me all like tingly inside. Like like him being able to place enough pressure on two guys to force them to kick long. You watched that happen a few times a game. You're like, how did he manage to do it? Just being clever about just holding them up, holds up the play of the ball when the guys have got it, like the opposition's got it, just to give everyone that extra 2 seconds to set up the back line. Like he just does little things like that really lovely.
He can kick goals. He's obviously got that.
Kick a goal.
He's got the connection with Grundy. So look, it's been such a blessing having a player like him to sort of cover while Mills and Parks were coming back. I still think they're not there, so he definitely has a role. But and just while we're on Parker, he actually equaled Ryan O'Keefe as the 5th most games for the Swans on 286.
Yes. As if he wasn't already highest in our love radar. He's he's got more reasons to go further up in that love radar. Incredible.
Well, I mean, I was gutted when they stopped playing O'Keefe and he didn't make his 300th. But, pretty much all that last season. But Parker's sort of been cruelled by injury and that VFL suspension. So probably would have made it this year. But, he's still contracted for next year. But, it's obviously a young team getting more games under their belt. So it's one of those things. Obviously, Lloydie as well, just to shout out quickly, is now the 5th highest possession winner in recorded Swans history. So he loves a disposal, doesn't he, Lloydie? And he loves a disposal.
That is an understatement, my friend. Yeah.
He loves a little kick there. But so who is he now? He's in the top 10 or something. So I don't know, what was it? Fifth highest, sorry. But yeah, look, so going back to the ins and outs, so if Melican, Rampy and Hayward don't get through, then Rowie comes in for Hayward, although it's not like for like. This is what we're talking about. This is the point of the conversation. Laddams or Hamling or Francis will come in, you think, for Melican, although not like for like with Laddams, and then all others hold Mills and or Adams to sub with Parker starting. So I don't know, if you think about Port and their form, did you watch any of that game against Carlton last week, mate? For Port?
Let me think. I don't think so. I think maybe the last couple of minutes. That's about it. No, yeah.
So they were down. They were down like pretty much 31 points, just on the cusp of half time. This is Port, and they've come back and they've beaten them by whatever it was in the end. It was a pretty nice win, a couple of goals or something like that. So, and obviously the big talking point was a 5-day break for Carlton as opposed to a 7-day break. But they put Esava Radigalia up forward, and he was excellent. And he's a pretty big unit. They've got Dixon there, 200 centimetres. Marshall might come back in. He's pretty tall, but he's a bit of a lizard frame. Georgiades is a bit shorter, but he's been playing really well as well. Then obviously in the midfield you got Rosie Butters, Horn Francis, Wines is playing well, Boak's playing well. Down back you got Houston, who's AA, Farrell, who's got a boot like Campbell, and Jordan Sweet's doing some really good things in the ruck. So obviously Aaliyah and Zerk Thatcher. So not overly tall in their back line, but certainly a bit more height as they move further up the ground. But
and
I don't know, I
just the quality of aerial threat they are in the air as well. Aaliyah in particular,
yeah.
Like just taking those marks, they're just one of the best out there.
BZT as well played really well.
Ollie Wines played himself back into form again as well. 10 clearances, just a beast.
Big bopper. Yeah.
Big head.
So my question is, do we pull out the pistol? So
Pistol
the bad
Pete.
lad can Pistol Pete, so he can fire off at his old club mate, because he's going to do some random crazy shit.
He's going to do some silly stuff. Get
He's gonna
himself
do some
suspended
silly
for 2
stuff.
weeks.
Is it the bad lad or the good lad? That's what we
Yeah,
all know.
look, I love to think that the good lad is ready to go. We've spoken about the bad lad in previous years, but the good lad is ready to go. But I don't meh. It's not a bad. It's actually a pretty good shout. Let's be fair. Like, someone in that forward line, have a crack at it. Like, throw him in the mix, see what happens. Get a bit of height out there. He takes a good mark, and he's got some forward craft.
He does have forward craft. Like, he's a good kick. Like, he just kicked 3 goals. He's been mixing his time, splitting his time between ruck and forward. But it's an extra tall body. I really think we could have used him against the Dogs, but maybe this is the one where he it's another.
I just remember him
in the deep end.
One of the first times he played against them, he got absolutely rattled. They knew they were going to rattle him, and he got rattled. And I think he set out a week's suspension after that or something.
Yeah, he punched Wines in the gut. He just whacked
Hang
him.
on, but so did Pendlebury, and he got nothing for that.
Yeah, but that's Pendles, mate.
Oh,
That's
sorry,
400.
that's right.
That's Pendles. I don't eat chocolate. I'm about to get 400 games.
Yeah.
I buy all my merch.
Did you know I used to play basketball?
Yeah, that's right. Did you play basketball, Pendles?
No, did he? I can't remember. No one's ever said that to me before.
Never heard that. But look. It's the point is, all the Swans fans are, they're trying to find them. What's going on with us? How do we break this funk? Are there other players that we could be bringing in who can get that result? But if we look at the history of us and Port in Adelaide Oval, it's not pretty. So I don't think there's going to be a quick fix to this. The only thing I think that's going to help us is that if we somehow rediscover our urgency, our passion, and intensity, and just we need to tackle and hopefully Rowie can be that sort of positive. Not calming, but aggressive, pass that back on to everyone. And so let's get hungry and let's tackle everything. I think
that's you're nailing it, mate. I totally agree with that. I think it needs to be from the top down. You got to go look at Parker, you look at Heaney, getting down and dirty, doing the dirty things, getting those tackles down, contested ball, go hard, turn the game, change the shape of the game for us. And allow some of those guys to do what they do best in Warner and like Ollie and Blakey, do what they do best. But the engine room or the shutdown room needs to get up first. And I think that's where we need to lead from. That's what I feel has been missing mostly from the games the last few weeks. It's just trying to play with so much cleanliness, trying to play with so much finesse that we forget about the fundamentals, which is get down and dirty, stop the ball going the other way, and let it go when it goes our way. That's the core of a good split football.
Yeah, I agree, mate.
So
who
goes
obviously
in?
That trend that we've sort of been, it's been close losses, right? Yeah, close losses, but then this big loss against the Dogs. So we've just got to fight for a win, and it's going to mean a lot because it'll be breaking this bogey team bad record against Port, but B, hopefully it's the thing that springs us out of this bloody funk, right? And maybe it is this heavy training loads or whatever. We don't know. No one really knows. But one thing we do know is we're not calling first quarter, right? We just got to get in there and tackle our hearts out from the second that the second quarter starts officially, which is at the beginning of the game.
No, well, I mean, we're making some fun of it, of course. We're making fun of it, but at the end of the day, just go hard, go super hard from the beginning. They love to get hard at home, the old Port. They like to play some dirty football. If it's raining, they play a decent game in the rain just because of the way they play. They're just a bit nasty at it. See if eventually maybe, what's his name, Connor Rosie eventually sits out of suspension for doing something silly instead of taking up like $40,000 worth of fines, whatever he's got so far.
That's Butters.
Is it Butters?
Unbelievable.
So yeah, we can do some stuff there. So you can get dirty.
Definitely, mate. It's going to be a good one, but very nervous, but hopefully we can do it.
Should be good. Mate, Sammy Reid. Let's quickly gush over our beloved Sammy Reid doing the lap of honour in front of adoring Swans fans. What do you say about it?
It was awesome, and none more adoring than Harps and his Harps and his two daughters who went down on the fence, and we had a few really good videos of Sammy and his family coming around, and it was a good moment. It was it was nice in the sun there, and obviously it was a bit sad the way that it all ended for him. Obviously he tried hard, but yeah, look, he's been such a fantastic clubman, and you can never doubt his skill. It was just at times over the journey the body didn't really keep up with it, but it was just seemed like he got so close to cracking back into this team, and it would have been a good year to be able to have a player like Sammy Reid, a fit Sammy Reid, at our disposal. Especially look at the situation we're in now. But yeah, it was fantastic, mate. Did you got the warm and fuzzies? It was a nice little moment
the warm and fuzzy. We got some chants going in the O'Reilly stand for him. Yeah, we'll switch in between a couple of different chants, and I seem to think that everyone kind of was feeling the same way, but it's a bit sad to see, but also kind of celebrating what his career's been. But like we said, it's just a bit of a shame that he wasn't able to get back in, because as it's all been noted, like he was literally a game away from getting back in, and body just couldn't hold up. So real shame we couldn't see it.
Definitely. One more thing, mate, before we go. I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Breaking a Funk has listened to some music. So I think last week, Sammy, when you guys did the Brisbane review, we mentioned, Sammy mentioned, because he was at the game, same as me, sitting separately, but we both mentioned how amazing the vibe at the Gabba was. And that it's a different size ground. It's a bit smaller. You're a bit sort of higher up. Everyone's sort of together. It's sort of a very connected stadium. Whereas obviously the width of the SCG and the sort of
the way those old stands
angled, the old stands sort of really open it up. It's a very expansive
long angles.
It's obviously not as long as the MCG, but it's very wide. But the music really made the Gabba experience. Right, and every player's got their song, and every player has a recognisable like karaoke ballad.
Quality
right? And everyone,
song,
quality. So we went through it. Obviously Cameron's got his Country Road, Danaher's got Let It Go, McCluggage has got Hey Jude.
Ashcroft's got Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. I think. Yeah, can't go wrong.
All these songs that really, but the Country Road one was just amazing. Like gave me goosebumps, and then so I was hypersensitive. I was making sure I listened to the songs after the goals, of which there weren't
suck.
very many. They sucked.
They are so bad.
Rave. Like
it's like look, our captain's kicked the goal coming back from injury. Like, why is this happening? Like, no one wants this. Like, there's one guy just losing his absolute mind in the bathroom, probably loving it. Having the best time. Everyone else in the stadium could not give a rat's. What is going on? I can't hear my mates, and I just want to celebrate with them. Yeah, we've got to do something about that. We've all been calling it out for too long. Errol gets a song, no one else gets a song. Apparently, they should all get songs. Enough.
It needs to be recognisable. So Cam Rayner's song is Sweet Caroline, right?
What a jerk.
Obviously Swans fans have
what a jerk.
They're mixed in that that first quarter, I guess, quote unquote tradition of playing Sweet Caroline, but that's the kind of song that players need to choose. If they're not going to choose it, they should be attributed. Right, and everyone needs to sing at the end of goals, I think. Or if we can replicate some of the vibe of the Gabba, I think it would be a great thing, because 35,000, 40,000 people singing a song that everyone knows after a goal is scored by a certain player, it really gets the atmosphere humming. And I think that's a bit of homework for the club for the off season. But
you were saying your little boy kept singing Danaher's song well after the celebration. It was Frozen or something?
No. So Frozen, Let It Go. So when it came on, he looked at me, and he's 3. And he's like, "Oh, it's Frozen," and I was like, "We're not allowed to sing this song, son."
You mean
No, I kid. He looked at me with his baby blues, and of course I said, "Go on, mate, go on." It was a pretty good goal. Danaher got, and let's not forget his uncle played for the Swans, I think. So, or was it dad? Was it one of the Danahers did? But anyway, mate, look, that's just one little thing before we go. I think we need to work on that and get rid of these sort of rave underground
track things. Nick Skits, volume 45 or whatever we're up to now. Yeah, we don't need it.
You could be speaking a different language to me right now. So
you don't know Nick Skits?
No, mate.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is a Westie thing, but Nick Skits is hectic. He was a guy who made these rave CD tracks, and when I was in primary school, they were like Nick Skits Volume 1, 2, and then by the time I hit high school, it was Volume 5, and I'm like, this guy's not stopping. Found out the other day he hasn't stopped. Apparently he's up to like 40 or something. I don't know. It's just insane. So yeah, he's all
His
that
songs are
shitty
being
rave
played
music.
at the SCG. That's what
I'm
that's
pretty
what it
sure
is.
that's that kind of quality of rave music we're working with here. Yeah, Nick Skits Mix. If anyone out there knows what I'm talking about, please reach out, because I feel crazy talking about this, but to me it's very real. It's very real. Nick Skits Mix.
Oh, man.
It's a Westy thing, I think, maybe. Anyway,
mate,
well, look, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks for listening in all the way to the end. We must have done a good job, right? Whether you don't remember Nick Skits, whether you're willing to listen to ways of meditation and hugging dogs or whatever it is, anything in between, please reach out to us. It's always great to talk.
Yeah, and we'd love it if you could give us a like and follow on all your favourite socials. Otherwise, make sure to keep an eye out for more content during the week, as well as game day itself.
Yep. Until then, we look forward to seeing you at the pub to watch the game. But until then, up the Bloods. And can you Swannies?
Swannies, come on. Come on, boys.